take a moment to thank our wonderful sponsors, Shani and Adrian Garbaz, sponsoring the Shir this evening in memory of her father, Dr. Jacob Mormelstein Yaakov and Avram Yehuda. The Heilige Neshama should be zocher to a tremendous continuous aliyah and Neshama and the Gan Eden Shamayla Mechayel Achayel Emet Hashem. With Siyata D'Shmai, we turn to the pages of this week's Parshas Chukas. Opening up to the fifth aliyah, we find as follows: Vayisu mikodesh, vayavu b'nei Yisrael kol ha'ida hor hahar. Of course, we know this is the parsha of Misas Aharon, which parenthetically is the only yard site mentioned anywhere in Chumash. We know Rosh Chodesh, a lot to take out of that one. So Aharon HaKohen, this is the time he is to ascend to Hor Hahar, and he's not to come down again. Vayomer Hashem Moshe v'el Aharon b'Hor Hahar. Al Gevul Eretz Edom Lamor. So here the Eibusher is speaking to Moshe. As the Nitzip points out, based on the Sifra, we see from the Hemshech HaPsukim, the Dibur did not go to Moshe and to Aaron. It was to Moshe Rabbeinu, but specifically directed towards his brother Aharon. And the Torah adds something that at face value seems much superfluous. Vayomer Hashem Moshe v'el Aharon b'Hor Hahar. Al Gevul Eretz Edom Lamor. Where was it? On the border of Eretz Edom. And now, as the Nitzip points out in Hemek Dover, Rashi Chazal's diuk is the very first pasuk of the fifth aliyah that we just read, stated simply, "Vayavo b'nei Yisrael kol ha'ida hor hahar." They got to Hor Hahar, and the Torah didn't feel compelled to add the fact that Hor Hahar was Al Gevul Eretz Edom Lamor. So clearly, and now when the Eibusher is speaking to Moshe Rabbeinu, Klape Aaron, that it's time to do what? He asif Aaron al Omav ki lo yovel la'aretz asher nasati b'nei Yisrael al Hashem risim es pi l'mei mariva. Aaron HaKohen is not allowed entry into the land. He's going to go to Hor Hahar, take him with Elazar Beno, and Elazar is going to now take over at the helm of the Kuna Gedola from his father Aaron HaKohen. So Chazal bother. We didn't mention Gevul Eretz Edom. What's Gevul Eretz Edom doing over here? And Nitziv says, what's Pshuto? He says, Pshuto is, since in Yesh Nochlan, with the Chazal tell us, Ganai L'Tzadik, Sheinik Barba Doma Sheina Shalo, we want you to know he wasn't buried in Edom. He wasn't buried in someone else's property. He was buried in a place of Hefker, so you should know it's not a Ganai for the Tzadik Aaron HaKohen that he was buried in Eretz Edom. That's the Pshuto Shemikro, but that's not Chazal. Chazal, Rashi says, based on Chazal, Zog Teilig Rashi, what's Al Gevul Eretz Edom? Magid Shem Nation is Schabru Kal Neskari V'Eisav Rasha. They got a little too close to the place called Edom, to the place of the descendants of Esav Rasha. And because of that, Nifritzu Ma'aseim, there was a pirza in their actions, V'chosu Atzadik Hazeh. And now this was the time Hashem says, you're getting a little too close to your arch rival, your arch nemesis Esav. Edom, when you're learning from his Maisim, you're a little too close proximity. So what happens? Hashem takes away the Tzadik of Aaron HaKohen. V'chein Hanavi says to Yoshaphat, V'chulei, B'schabercha Machziel, Part Hashem es Masecha, Rashi quoting from Divrei Yavim. So the Nitziv explains in Hemek Dover, what is the idea? Since the Pasuk didn't tell us originally, only as a prelude to Misas Aaron HaKohen, they got a little too close to Edom. You got a little more close than that which was necessary. Or that you sent in another message. You already did your basic ishtalos, so you have to send a secondary message to Melech Edom. Either way, they got a little too close. That's Rashi Api Chazal. And what happens because they got a little too close? And now they're going to lose Aaron HaKohen. What exactly is the Midah Keneged Midah? Sasul Gavaldika Avnei Nezer. Avnei Nezer is quoted by his son, and the Shem Shmuel, Shnas Tafrei Shayin, in the Shem Shmuel, this week's Parshas Chukas. I took it out of a new 2-volume work. A Gavaldika Sefer just came out a few months ago. They were malaked from the Avnei Nezer's multi-volume masterful work in the Osadesha, and they took all his son Shem Shmuel, all the places where he quotes his father, and they took other Torah journals where they quote Avnei Nezer, and they put out, a little bit expensive, but they put out a 2-volume Gevaldig Avnei Nezer L'Torah Amayurdik. So I was taking a look at Avnei Nezer, and this is an Avnei Nezer Sokachover quoted by his son in this week's parsha. And Avnei Nezer is bothered. What's the Midah Keneged Midah? And he says, based on the Medrash and Bereishis Rabbah Parsha Samachay and Os Aleph, the Iker Kilkul of Esav of Edom is that they act like the chazer. What does the chazer do? The Medrash says, puts out its split holes and says, "Oh, look, I'm kosher." But in the pnimius, what's going on inside? It's not chewing its cud, so it's lacking the pnimius to kasimin, but it's taking pride in its outward chitzonius to kasimin. And that's exactly what the Medrash says. What does Esav Rasha do? He's mezana with a woman before he gets married, living a life completely contrary and antithetical to his saintly father Yitzchak. But then he says, "I'm going to wait to get married until I'm 40 years old. Everybody's going to see I'm just like my father. The Tati got married at 40. I'm going to get married at 40. The chitzonius. I'm going to get married. Let the world see. I'm just like, in the pnimius. What's he doing behind the curtain? What's he doing behind the sneens, nus, and stealing married women? That's what he's messing up the pnimius. And those who are madam to the chazis. If you get a little too close to Esav, then you're being pogim and you're what? And you're pnimius. Aharon, what is Aharon a kohen pnimius? Why? The Maral explains in Tiferes Yisrael Percha Beis. Aharon the Kohen Gadol is the most pnimiistic a person. Why? It's very geschmack. Who goes into the Mokama Pnimi Biyoser? Into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the most hidden place? That's Aharon HaKohen, and it's Merumas in his name. What's Aharon HaKohen? He says, the Maral, you have the whole Goyish Welt, and then you have Klal Yisrael, that's Pnimi Biyoser from the Goyish Welt. Within Klal Yisrael, the most pnimiistic is Sheva Levi. Within Sheva Levi, you have the Kohanim, and then the Kohanim have Aharon HaKohen. So you have 4 different steps, explains the Maral. That's Merumas in the 4 letters comprising the name of Aharon. You have what? You have the Reish. What's the Reish? The Emtsoi, the pnimiistic letter. Why? Because it's in between the Kuf and the Tuf. It's in between the 100 and the 400. The 300 is already closer to the 400, but the 200 is smack in the middle between the Kuf and the Tuf. That's the middle. That's the Emtsoi. The Emtsoi is always the Pnimi Biyoser. And then you have what? Then you have the Shevet Levi separated from Klal Yisrael. So you have Klal Yisrael separated from Musolov. That's Keneged, the first division. Then you have Shevet Levi separated from Klal Yisrael. That's Aharon. Now we go to the Nun. What's the Nun? 10 matches up with 90, 20 with 80, 30 and 70, 40 and 60, 50. The Emtsoi is the Pnimi Biyoser. It's hidden right in the middle. And that is the middle. And that's Keneged, the next division. Then we have the Kohanim separated from Shevet Levi, fewer in number. Again, more Pnimi Biyoser. And that is Keneged the Hay. What's the Hay? You have the 1 and the 9, the 2 and the 8, the 3 and the 7, the 4 and the 6. Then you have the 5. That's the Medrash. Hen Am Levadad Yishko. Klal Yisrael is separate. Hen Am. Why is it separate? Why is it highlighted by Hen? Because Hen is the juxtaposition of the Hay. The Os Emtsoi Biyoser, the Mutzana Biyoser, because it's hidden. Everybody else has a match. This is hidden smack in the middle. That's the Hay in the single digits. That's the Nun in the tens. Hen Am Levadad Yishko. They stay separate. And then within the Kohanim, you have Aharon HaKohen is the only one to go into the Makama Pnimi Biyoser, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. He is the most pneumistic a person, and that's the Aleph. There only is one Kohen Gadol, and that's the Aleph. So you have the Aleph, Hey, Reish, Nun. And the hundreds, the Reish is the Emtsoi, that's Klal Yisrael divided from Umas Olam. Then you have Shevet Levi divided from Klal Yisrael, that's Keneged the Nun, the next division. Then the Hey, the next division in the single digits, that's Keneged the Miyuchadikakite of the Kohanim, Umas Levim. And then within the Kohanim group, you have Aharon HaKohen, who is an Aleph, who is all by himself, completely separate, the only one to go as a lone individual into the Mokama Pnimi Biyoser, into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's Pnimius. So since he's the most Pnimiistic a person, Lekach Mikoch Kedushoso, also Lechoiso Pnimiyim, his home at Siyas, the Hainu his name. His name, Brochus Ayin Reish, Shmol Gorib. His name is comprised of Aleph, Hey, Reish, Nun, the Osios HaPnimius Biyoser, because that's what he was. He was Etzamat Miyusin, the most pneumistic a person who himself would go into the most pneumistic a makom. Mela, he caused that all of Kais will be pneumistic a people. Shayim Mechusim Tachas Onana covered. Right, the Sukkot Shavu Rebbe Gemalda. What was the Miyuchadikakite of Aharon HaKohen? So we mentioned many times the Meshech Chochmah. The Meshech Chochmah writes in Parshas Yisrael, Tainis Daf Tesam and Aleph, we have 3 matanas. Keneged the Gimel Parnasei Hadar, Gimel Parnasim Tovim, Gematria 510, as we suggested. Gematria is Mon, Be'er, and Anania Kovid. Keneged Moshe Rabbeinu, we got the Mon. B'schus Aaron, we got the Anania Kovid. B'schus Miriam, we got the Be'er. So very geschmack. Why B'schus Aaron Anania Kovid? So the Meshech Chochmah's part is that the Anania Kovid, the Mon, is a personalized experience. Whatever you wanted to eat, you wanted steak, you wanted pizza, you wanted fish, whatever you wanted, was an individualized culinary experience for that evening. And that is Miyuchadikakai. Moshe was a Adam Yochid, set him Chutz Lamachane. Then you had Ber Miriam, what's that? Whatever drink the Chidah, according to Tzemach David. Likewise, based on Chazal, whatever drink you wanted ginger ale, you wanted Shirley Temple, you wanted a Diet Coke with lemon, a cappuccino, you thought about it and it was right there. Also, in individualized drinking, you would imbibe whatever beverage you opted for. Shaken, and then a Kohen encompasses all of Kaiso B'Yachad, and that is Aaron a Kohen, who is the one, Kishachan B'Levachad, the Oiv Shalom, Rodei Shalom of Sabrisa, Makarim on the Torah, Hillel's famous memory in Perkei Avos Perkei Aleph Mishnah base. But adds the Sukkot Shover. No, what's an Aniyah Covenant? An Aniyah Covenant is that which concealed Klal Yisrael, that which highlighted the Pnimius of Klal Yisrael. And let's add on to the Sukkot Shover Rebbe. It's not just the Pnimius, but the whole Indian is dividing and separating. The Goyim can't touch us, and we're in an Aniyah Covenant. When you're sitting down to dinner and you have the mon and you have the bear, the Goyim can surround you. The Aniyah Covenant would separate between you and everybody else. The Ramban and Rechaim Yital and Eitzadas, and not just between you and the Yom Solam, even between you and the Erev Rav. The Erev Rav were not allowed to be Tachlis and Nene Covered Beyachadim Klal Yisrael, and thus the Tachlis and the Nene Covered is to conceal and make them Panimi, is to be enveloped and embraced by the all-encompassing majestic clouds of glory. Geshmak says, and that's why we lost an Aniyah Covenant with Misas Aaron HaKohen. It was in his merit that we got the Aniyah Covenant. Once they got too close to Esav, too close to Edom, the descendants of someone who battled, he's the Zelu Mazeh. He is the negative side of Pnimius. He says, my Pnimius is great, it's only my Chitzah. My Pnimius is bad, but look at my Chitzanius. You get too close to Esav. What do? He's pogaming your Pnimius because you got a little too close. What was the meter? You're going to lose the Pnimistic Aaron HaKohen, whose name highlights his core essence as the Odama Pnimi Biyoser. When you get too close to the descendants of Esav, who are all about the Pagam and the Pnimius, he highlights the Chitzanius, and that's a Mida Kenegamid. Akan the Sukkot Shover. So, Lefini Yastaiti, let's be Mamshech Lekaval. Always intrigued me, we have in Orach Chaim, the Torah writes in the name of his brother, the three Ovos correspond to the three Regalim. Avram Avinu to the Yantav of Pesach, Yitzhak to Shavuos, and Yaakov to Sukkot. Something that the Gra discusses in his Adar Yom Adur Tzli Yisrael, Parshas Balak, Shem Yishmor of Tzaddik, and so many others. The father, the Shloim at Bracha. We know that Yaakov Avinu is the Yantav of Sukkot. After all, by Yishlach, the Yaakov Nasa Sukkos, the Mekaneo Asa Sukkos. So Yaakov is the Yantav of Sukkot, and at the same time, Aaron HaKohen. We know the Torah starts Hilchos Sukkah, Tavreish Chavei and Orchaim. How do we begin? You have to think about Rabbi Eliezer's sheet and Sukkah Yud Aleph from the base. That Sukkah is Keneged and Aniyah Covenant, and that's a Pshuto Shemikrai and Rashi, the Rashi and Sukkah as well, based on an Aleph, and the whole of the Ramban. That's Pshuto Shemikrai and Aniyah Covenant. Matalas Adonai is the Targum. Amela. So what do we have? We have Sukkah Keneged Yaakov Avinu. And yet the Sukkos is Keneged Aniyah Covenant, and Aniyah Covenant B'schus Aaron HaKohen. So one Yontif that's Keneged Yaakov Mitzad Echad, Keneged Aaron HaKohen Mitzad Sheni. What's the Tzana Shaveh? So the Feiner is it's Geshmak. Yaakov Nosa Sukkos and Meknei Osa Sukkos. And what's the meaning of the Sukkah? We paskin the Torah. Rabbi Eliezer Aniyah Covenant. Aniyah Covenant B'schus Aaron HaKohen. What is the Ikar Tachlis of Aniyah Covenant? To combine all of Klal Yisrael B'Yachad simultaneously, and that's why it still works with the Meshech Chachma, blocking out the Erev Rav and blocking out the Yom Solam. That's where the Yom Solam and no Shlita, no Tvisas Yad on any member of Klal Yisrael. So once you're enveloped by the clouds of glory, you could shoot all the arrows you want. That's not going to penetrate this metaphysical, miraculous barrier. This divides Klal Yisrael from everybody else. Who's the one who introduced that Chiddush? That Chiddush of taking Klal Yisrael, uniting them B'Yachad while simultaneously blocking out everybody else. That Rabbi says the Chiddush of Yaakov Avinu. After all, it says in Vayishlach, Yaakov comes back to the city Sholeh. Zok the Meshach Chachma Lochen Yaakov. Amitosa Shleima. Avram Avinu had a Yitzchak, but he had a Yishmael. Yaakov had a Yitzchak, had a Yaakov, but he had an Esav. Yaakov is Mitosa Shleima, and therefore what? He's going to ensure that his sons are kept separate. They're going to be encircled by a boundary. He got angry. That Chen Ledoris Buma went out to become again. That's Koveya Techumin. That's what Chazal mean. Vayichen es Pnei Hayir Zokt Chazal. Yaakov is Koveya Techumin. Now, when does he Koveya Techumin? When does he have Mitosa Shlema? When he leaves Beis Lavan, sets up shop, sets up the Jewish encampment, and now Vayichen es Chelchas. He's Koveya Techumin. Everybody else is out. Where does this come? Right in the heels of what Yaakov Nosa Sukosa Umakanei Asa Sukkos. Right after he makes a sukkah. Why? Because Sukkos is connected on Anei Kovet, and the tachlis of Anei Kovet is to protect Klal Yisrael, to be a ma'achei them as one cohesive, unified nation, while simultaneously blocking out everybody else who have no yichelis to penetrate one iota. On the heels of Yaakov Nosa Sukosa, I have a Yavo Yaakov Sholem Vayichen es Pnei Hayir. He's Koveya Techumin, and he blocks everybody else out. Right, so Chana Habers now. Maridik and Chasidish Sefer Divrei Chana. And the Divrei Chana Sholim, let's go to Bezosa Bracha. And Parshas Bezosa Bracha, Moshe Rabbeinu tells Klal Yisrael, Barzel u'nechoshes min alecha. Zok Rashi, what's Barzel u'nechoshes min alecha? I'm going to have such strong shvatim, some say it's miyuchas, to Shevet Osher, but I'm going to have strong shvatim who are going to be stationed, positioned by the borders of Eretz Yisrael, and it's going to be like iron, like copper, and they will be, they're going to lock in Klal Yisrael and lock out everybody else. That's Barzel u'nechoshes min alecha. Zok Tov Chan Haverstam, Rabbi, I listen to this Rebbe. He says, Kava Yosha writes in Perek Mem Zayin, that once Tiroi Meshevet Barzel, how do you destroy the nations of the world? David writes in Tillim, Kapitel Beis Pasuk Tes, Tiroi, break apart my enemies with Shevet Barzel. Zokt the Kava Yoshar, Matzasi B'Shem Godol Echad. What's the remez? David is davening, She is Shaber V'Yahari Sakrosh Ruchus HaMatzam Shem. It's all the enemies that are causing Klal Yisrael so much stress and Agmas Nefesh and Tsar. B'Schus what? B'Shevet Barzel. B'Schus the Yud Beis Shvatim. Shevet Barzel. The Shevet, the Shvatim that came from Barzel. What's Barzel? Bila, Rachel, Zilpa, and Leah. I want you to go ahead and destroy the enemies. B'Schus what? That I got all the Shvatim together. The Mitoso Shlema, the Shevet Barzel. The Shvatim that come from Bila, Rachel, Zilpa, and Leah. Continues the Divrei Chana. The Arizal writes in the Kutei Torah that Zov, Kesev, and Achoshes correspond to the Gimel Ovis. Kesev is Keneged Avram Avinu, Milosha, Nichsof, Nichsafti, Ava, Chesed, Gevaldik. Zov is Keneged Yitzchak, that's Midoso Yira. Nechoshes, Copper is Keneged Yaakov, is Midas Teferes. That's Nachashti, Ve'varchini Hashem Elecha. Hashem gave me honor with all my children of Eytan and gave me splendor. He says, V'meila, what's going to bring Hashpah to Klal Yisrael? To B'schus Avram Avinu? That's not going to protect Klal Yisrael. Why? Because giving a bracha to Avram means the Hashpah is also going to go to Yishmael along with Yitzchak. If you give the bracha to Yitzchak, it's going to go not just to Yaakov, it's going to go to Esav. The brachas can only be B'schus. I want that which is going to lock you in and separate you from the Umas Olam. And that's only what Barzel Nechoshes. You want the brachas, it's only B'schus Yaakov and his wives. That's Barzel Nechoshes. Nechoshes based in Arizal. It's Keneged Yaakov Avinu and Vayetz and Achashti V'Varchini Hashem Agalecha. Minas Teferes. That's Nechoshes. Barzel is Bila. Rachel Zilpon Leah. So we go to V'zos HaBracha. What's a bracha? Who's going to be on the borders of Eretz Yisrael, locking in Klal Yisrael and simultaneously locking out all the Umas Olam? Barzel Nechoshes will be Menalacha. Barzel, the most married Dafka to Yaakov Avinu, who is Nechoshes. Barzel and Nechoshes together. Yaakov and his wives, who produced the Yibei Shvatim, the Mitoso Shlema, Vayichen es Pnei Hayir. They're going to bring everyone together and then they'll lock everybody out. So, Fini how Geschmack. What's the Yontiv Sukkos? Yontiv Sukkos is Yaakov Nosa Sukosa, and right in the heels of that, Vayichen es Pnei Hayir, because the whole Indian of Sukkos is connected in Anei Kovet. The Iker Tachlis in Anei Kovet is to simultaneously unite all of Klal Yisrael together, while at the same moment in time locking out, excluding all the Umas Olam and even the Erev Rav. Everybody else is out of the picture. That is Aaron HaKohen. That's why when Aaron HaKohen gets too close to Esav, what happens? Zok Chazal, when he gets too close to Esav, Zok the Sukkot of Rebbe, they lose Aaron HaKohen and they lose the Anei Kovet. The Anei Kovet is here to combine you and to separate you. If you're going to lose that separation, you're going to be too close proximity to Esav and to Edom, then I'm going to take away Aaron HaKohen, the Pinimi B'Yosar. I'm going to take away the Anei Kovet. Mida Keneged Mida, how Geschmack. So Mela, that Sukkos, it has these two aspects, but what? They both are clearly interconnected with Yaakov Avinu, who is Yaakov Nosa Sukosa, the first one to be Mitosa Shlema, Vayichen es Pnei Hayir, Barzel will keep Klal Yisrael inside out, soul all the other nations out. That'll be Dafka the Mina of Yaakov, and that is Yaron HaKohen, the Pnimi B'Yoser, who is always Shomron Hashem, brings everyone together and blocks everybody else out. If you're going to leave that metaphysical cloud and you're going to get a little too close to Esav, who is Pogei in the Pnimius, and you're going to lose Yaron HaKohen and Mamela. You're going to lose another covet. Mela how geschmack that when it comes to loss you get to Maseches Avodah Zara, and you want to know what's going to separate us from the Goyim de la Asid. You know when Mashiach is going to come, you know what's going to happen? The Goyim are going to complain. Give us a mitzvah. Give us one single mitzvah. One mitzvah. I used to say Sukkah. What's the mitzvah? Who's going to be magder us that we are together in Tachas the Broken Nashma Hashem, and the Goyim are out of the picture. Why is Eibster testing with Sukkah? Because that is the first division. Yaakov Nasa Sukkos, we're going to also Sukkos. Vayichan is putting a year. We're together, everybody else is out. Aaron HaKohen, you're together, everybody else is out. You get too close, then you lose it. Gavaldi Yibster says the ultimate bearer will be Al Yadei. Sukkos Keneged Yaakov Avinu. Sukkos B'schus Aaron HaKohen is everyone together. The Goyim are out of the picture. The ultimate bearer will be Ach Varak Al Yadei the Sukkah. That's Dafka Meseches Avodah Zara. Klal Yisrael on the one end, the Yom HaSolom on the other. A wonderful night, a great rest of the weekend.